or is it only from that tech talk? Uh, hey guys, we're
Anyways,
live. Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to make that cool name. If you're seeing the video, I've got this really amazingly cool. I'm super official, basically. Like, what is that called? It's called lower third, but there's like an overlay, like an overlay. Yeah, so this is my name. It looks like I'm a news reporter. What's up, man?
yeah, so I'm at a friend's house today in Ratisbon, Regensburg today, which you might be able to also hear in the sound. So I hope you can hear me all right. But I'm doing good otherwise, and it's very, very nice here.
I have a question for you. Last night, well, my last night, we interviewed Greg McGregor, and it was like a business-to-business kind of conversation. And he's got a back end, and I was telling you on the interview that I really enjoy those kinds of conversations because it's kind of my background. But you were saying, look, I just got back from Oktoberfest, and of course, you're an Oktoberfest, you're going to drink some beers, but you didn't sound loose, at all. So I'm curious how many beers you had.
I had about, so that equals about 4 beers, so two lots, 2 liters. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I restrained myself because I knew we had to do the show, and so.
So I know Arnold Schwarzenegger's not German, but he has a funny saying like milk is for kids and beer is for adults or something like that. Uh, yeah. So it's like it's in your blood. It's a weird thing in the United States. What's the drinking age in Germany? 18?
So beer you get with 16.
Yeah, see, so we have like you can join the army at 18 and you can vote, but you can't drink until 21. But people in college, basically rules don't apply to people in college. So it's like rich kids, rich kids start getting special treatment like right away. But yeah, we have a real serious problem with drinking in the United States, but it's like we don't teach the kids how to drink, and so it's like you binge, 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 and then you're 21. But anyways, that's another conversation. But I just find it interesting how well you, I mean, yeah, you just handled the call really well, and we were thinking, hold on, he just
Thank
came
you.
back from Oktoberfest? That he sounds fine. So anyways, um,
Yeah, I
all
mean,
right, I actually have another bit of news for you. Um, do you know? Let me make sure I get his name right. Dan Norris.
yeah, sure. He's in the
Yeah,
DC, I guess.
yeah, and he just came out with a book called The 7 Day Startup. And we are customers of WordPress Curve. We used it for appbusinesspodcast.com, and then we have it on the App Business MBA. And so basically, it's like $70 a month, and they'll do all these little WordPress fixes, like, hey, take the author off of the post, and all these little things that I don't want to waste my time with. So, or try to figure out. And you hate WordPress, so it's it's another. In fact, that's a good thing to share. Is it's another thing we outsource. Like we
Yeah.
just keep outsourcing stuff. Um, so he wrote a book, 7 Day Startup. It actually launches this coming Monday, which would be the September 29th. And so he has this group where it's like the advocates group, something like gets behind his book and promotes it. Well, I read his book. I'm on page, I don't know, what is this, page 73 of 204, and it's really fast reading. But it's hilarious, and I think the overall message is going to be really good for the audience. And so I have an interview with him Sunday at 6 o'clock my time, because that'll be his morning in Australia. It'll be your middle of the night. So I didn't try to coordinate something that would work because Hazel's then going to edit it and have it ready Monday. So our Monday episode is going to be Dan Norris talking about this book. What do you think?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so he's an interesting dude, and he shared some thoughts about how he had businesses, but they were making 200 grand, but after he's paying everyone off, he's making like 35 or 40, and then he started informally, which was really interesting because we kind of saw that unfold in the DC. And by the way, if you guys are nerds like David and I and really like talking about business and startups and this kind of stuff, the DC is probably a really good spot. I would say they're all like startup people, but half of them are really focused on building like bootstrapped businesses, and half of them are like location independent lifestyle people, meaning they're less interested in building bootstrap business and more interested in building a business that lets them go surf in Bali, you know. But those things, you know, a lot of those things kind of overlap in the way you build a business, and so I think you need a recommendation to join the DC at this point because they have a lot of members. But if you guys wonder what we're talking about when we're talking about the DC, that's where David and I met, and I'm still active in it, and it's just a great what would you call it? Community, online community.
Yeah, an online forum community, and that's at dynamitecircle.com.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, and they have the podcast is it Tropical MBA?
TropicalMBA.com. Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be the Lifestyle Business Podcast, and they merged the two. So, all right, man, that was kind of the update I wanted to share with you because that happened last night around 9 o'clock. I was reading his book. I'm like, dude, I got to get this guy on, and yeah, so.
So you want to get into the review of the week, the past week?
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to the homepage. You know, what we've been doing is, because, was it last week that you weren't around? So we recorded some of these like 2 weeks ago. You know, some podcasts, or I think most podcasts, record stuff like 30 days, 6 weeks in advance, and we're literally like recording and publishing because Hazel's awesome and pumps them out. And we kind of course, it's SOP driven. You know, we have a system for all this stuff, and so I think some of this stuff ends up being super relevant. So 2 weeks is like a long time for us. Like, what did we talk about 2 weeks ago? So I think that's one thing we're doing right. But ABP 100, check that out.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, that was the iOS 8 for HTML5. That's kind of an awkward title, but basically all the what would you call it? Enhancements, features, capabilities of iOS 8 as related to web development and hybrid, and like the advancements in Safari and the SDKs related to interacting with web technologies. How did I do? Yeah?
Yeah, it was basically it, like all the new features we got and all the things we've been waiting for, and also some of the things we didn't get in the new iOS 8 for HTML5. Yeah,
I have a feeling that, you know, we haven't been looking at the stats just because it's like, who cares, we'll just keep making episodes that are interesting. But I'm guessing that was one of the more popular ones because those tend to be. ABP 101 was what to do before your app wireframe, and it was something that David and I didn't talk about prior. Like, we had some notes, but it was more of, I'm curious what David's going to say. And it was funny because like 15 minutes into it, I'm like, oh, that's not how I do it. But there was still some, I think what David, you pulled out of it was, I do it that way. I just do that first step kind of in my head or on a, you know, actually I think I do it that way. I just never thought of it like doing it that way. I make a list of everything I want in the app, and then I start plugging it in. But that was kind of your, hey, get your content together before you start building screens type of strategy or structure or whatever, right?
Yeah, and also it's not like we have to do everything perfect we talk about on the podcast, right? So there's some things that we explore and we find that we could do better and then immediately share. It doesn't mean we do it perfectly each time.
Yeah, in fact, that's kind of a huge thing. Like when I first started writing, well, I think it might have been when we started the podcast, or it might have been when I wrote that book in Bali, where I'm writing all these things and then recognizing like a full third of my apps don't live up to the best practices that I'm sharing with everyone. And it was like, oh, hold on, I need to go do that in my apps, in all my apps, you know. So, or at least the ones that are getting downloads and traction. So. Yeah, we're definitely sharing things that we've done or are doing or also want to do or realize we need to do. ABP 102 was Thursday, so yesterday's, and or 2 days ago for the Saturday listeners. And this is something we do. So this is something that is like becoming the, almost like what makes us unique, I think, is our kind of like, how would you say it, David? Like, it's not an interest. It's like our passion for analytics and using data to guide our decision making. And I think
it's definitely like one of the central themes of the show or topics that we tend to get back into because there's so much value there and it's so underused, basically.
Yeah, and this is why the Facebook group's cool, and just having a podcast in general is cool, is because you get to hear what people are struggling with, and some of the things are like, of course they are, but I just didn't think of it. Like an example would be where we keep talking about, in fact, that's what this episode's about, where we keep talking about, hey, put in basic analytics, put in analytics, and then we maybe don't talk about, okay, here's the 5 things you should track, because it is overwhelming. There's so much information there, and some of it's like Flurry has a rolling retention, and they have I forget what they call the other one. They call it like day rate retention or something, and it's just like overwhelming. Which one should I be looking at? Okay, if I'm looking at this, then what? And all these crazy things. So that episode was really focused on, okay, you've got analytics in your app, great. You're already in the top 20% of app publishers. Now, how do you use it? And that was kind of like an attempt to share some of that. And again, a lot of this stuff is like, if you really are into it, there's some books that we talked about on that episode, or the MBA is out there waiting for you to like go get your act together and make stuff happen, because a lot of this stuff is really like longer conversations. But if you're that person on the fence with, you got analytics in your app and now what, that episode I think was for you.
I think this is like very interesting, because I think when we started the show, we were kind of starting with the attitude of, let's see if we can get like 10 episodes together, and then see if we still have like enough to talk about. And just with the analytics topic alone, there's just so much we can keep getting into in more detail and deeper, and really try to drive home some points, but also explore some really yet unexplored angles of the thing. And so if you wanted to, you could probably just do an episode, an entire podcast about just retention, basically. Yeah. So that's what's so interesting about this.
Yeah, if we really wanted to, we could have like 10 podcasts, and all of them have new content going all the time, because, I mean, there really is that much to talk about. Okay, so next Monday, we've got the new Dan Norris one. And then I'm looking inside our Dropbox, our shared Dropbox. Do we have an idea of what we're doing next week? Not really, huh?
Well, the one episode you already shared, and we had this great interview with, Greg McGregor from Magellan. And
Magellan.
I think that Magellan, that was kind of like one of my favorite interviews so far, I think, in terms of value to time ratio. It was really packed. It was really even short, right? It was, I think, under half an hour or so. Mm-hmm. But we got to so many questions, so many technical points. He really got into the detail of how things work, so not just marketing speak or some canned responses. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really love about this podcast, and getting into these topics with guests, because they can sometimes, if they want to get really into the detail and really share a lot about what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I was saying on the podcast, was that's kind of my background, and I really enjoy those kind of conversations. But another insight that I don't think we hit on the episode was, he tried some things and some things didn't work, and he tried some other things, but business is messy, and it's not always so perfectly laid out, and there's just so much value in just executing and doing. And like behind the scenes, they have this huge, kind of like, it's almost like they have a system for working with Amazon Web Services, and they've kind of built their own layer on top of it. They have a ton of services on top of that, which is normal for working with enterprise and government agencies. But then they productize some of it and bring it down. But it's not like it's almost like it's marketing more than it's any drastic change in operations or something. Because I've seen a lot of businesses do this, and it's just another reminder that, it doesn't need to be totally dialed 100% perfectly beautiful in. The more you can hide that from your clients, the better, or your prospects. But, a lot of times it's almost like this, and I don't want to make it sound like too like too much of a sound bite or something. But if your business isn't messy, then you're probably not pushing hard enough. You're probably not moving forward fast enough, because like if you look at some of our, like a good example is our Google Drive. So our Google Drive is a mess right now because we have so many different things we keep starting, and then we take notes on something and then the idea pivots, so that document gets lost, and like all these kind of things. And I mean, it's an easy cleanup. That's just an easy example. But there's lots of things out there where the business is messy because you're moving fast, and it's not a terrible thing. Like the terrible thing is not having customers, not having revenue, not being profitable.
And
but
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, but the problem isn't, hey, it's not super clean, it doesn't look pretty on the back end. Like as long as you're moving stuff forward and getting clients and making money, then it's okay. It's like it's okay if it's messy on the back end, because it just means you're pushing. And I think Greg, we didn't really dig into it, but I had a sense for looking at all the different things he had done with his services business. On the back end it's a little messy, and some of the things are just like logos and it's like marketing material, but it's still the same services. And it's just I love that business to business stuff, and just a reminder how much I loved it, but also that look, it's gonna be a little bit messy, and for people who are waiting to start something until the perfect time, or the moon aligns with Saturn and the mountain in Machu Picchu, it's like it's okay if it's not perfect.
And while you said that, this is like not, we didn't prepare this, but I just feel that it's really the same thing with development. I used to be very like methodical about writing software, and like try to plan everything up front and then execute this master plan, and it should be like all of the things should be separated into modules and tested from the beginning and all that kind of stuff, which sounds great on paper, but over time I realized, and also my partner Stefan helped me realize, that this is not the way we really usually make progress. We usually make progress by just getting something out there, making it work, then probably getting the feedback that half of what we did isn't even needed, and then we can spend time what's called in software is refactoring, where you go back and you might even be rewriting entire parts of your application from scratch in the way that you originally intended them to be written, with tests and proper code and all that. But at least you have a product out there, you have people using your software. And you can start investing in features that you need, and that it makes sense to spend time on. And so I actually changed my way of writing software that way, with the same kind of method you described for doing anything else in business as well.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun conversation with Dan, and if you want to have the conversation at 1 a.m. your time, Sunday night or Monday morning, I guess, let me know. But because his whole premise for his book, The 7-Day Startup, and I know it sounds like we use the term link bait, that's not the right word, but like overselling the idea, but it's not. And when you read his book, you'll get, and I'm not saying you, David, but you too, I'm talking more to the listeners, like if it sounds like, oh, whatever, 7-Day Startup, that's just like a cheesy trying to get entrepreneurs. It's like the anti-entrepreneur book, and it's really hilarious, but it says, like, look, your idea is extremely important, and sometimes we make fun of people with ideas, like we say, oh, they're worthless, and he says, I understand that thinking, but it's not necessarily 100% true that they're worthless, because if you execute amazingly well at a terrible idea, you're not going to have a business, right? So the idea does matter. But what he says is day one is idea day. Like he maps out your whole week. And he says, and I just started day 2 in the book. So day 1 is idea day. And it's similar to your development thing where you're like building the environment or whatever we would call it, like the model for development. And it's like, it's extremely important. Yes. Okay. You have 1 day to do it. Like, no, it shouldn't be, if you're thinking about your idea in day 2, you messed up. You got to have it done in 1 day. It's extremely important, and that's why we set aside a whole day to do it. But that's it. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like your development thing. Like, yes, it's extremely important to have a plan for how you're going to build a thing, but after you've thought about it, that's it. And now it's time to execute, Yeah, yeah, I just thought that was kind of relevant.
Yeah, sounds like I've been enjoying the conversation, so I'll see if I can join.
Okay, yeah, it's 6:45 Central Time, and I think you're 7 hours ahead. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 2 a.m. So we'll just leave that open. Um, but it should be really interesting. I'll send you a copy of the book. I have it in PDF. It's actually going to be released Monday, so that's kind of why he's. That's kind of why we're going to have him on the podcast and just see if we can help him push some books. But yeah, I just wrote him a note like, dude, I'm cracking up because there's so many funny. Uh, like, hey, if you do this, you're a entrepreneur. If you do that, you're a entrepreneur. If you're doing this, you're taking too long. Like, just kind of like the way I talk, like black and white. Dude, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's
So,
basically beating you with a stick, I guess.
yeah, it's almost like I was thinking it's almost like when you're talking to a kid. It's like, yes, I understand what you're saying, Johnny. Okay, now drink your milk. Okay, Johnny, yes, I understand that you're full and all that stuff, and yeah, you don't want to drink the cow's juice and all that stuff. Okay, now drink your milk. It's like, okay, I understand. Bam. Okay, but who cares? Do it. Do it. Do it. Just that constant execution,
Yeah.
thought process. So, yeah, anyways, yeah, so that's Monday. I forget how we got on that subject, but Monday we've got Dan. Wednesday, oh, yeah, Wednesday we've got Greg McGregor. It's like interview week. We've got Hugh from Sensor Tower coming up. I think we've got him October 1st, which is, well, that's an interview that's coming, so I'm interviewing him Wednesday. So yeah, do we even have an episode for Thursday? Is that my Kim Kardashian episode?
I think we just haven't decided yet. So
Yeah.
let's leave that as a surprise.
Well, actually, let's do. I have the Kardashian episode. Let's do that. It's a good one.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. And I think something that I think would be really cool in the App Business MBA is to maybe even assign like homework where you have the homework assignment for the week is to reverse engineer Kim Kardashian app or reverse engineer Puzzles and Dragons. And that way you get a good feel for the mechanics they're using. You kind of turn in your assignment and then you review what everyone else wrote, and then maybe we have a webinar talking about it or something. But
Yeah,
I have a
you
feeling.
probably want to have like daily homework for the reasons you just stated with the 7-day start book as well. So it can be like smaller chunks, but daily accountability and
Yeah.
beating you over the head with a stick if you didn't do it, basically.
Yeah. I think I'm going to nerd out this weekend on the Business MBA, the App Business MBA, because I think we're going to start a big push on Monday to like fill it up and get more people in there. But there's just so much we can do there. And again, we're talking about analytics, like the amount of opportunity in mobile because of the lack of use of analytics is just insane. And yeah, it'll be fun to kind of like niche ourselves off that way and really try to drive understanding there. I haven't put the site up, but I think it's going to be Mobile App Dojo. So, anyways, I'll share this with you like either next week or probably on our Monday call. But yeah, it should be really cool. All right, so that's next week. What else, man? What else is going on?
Ryan is in the chat, and he asked a question while you were talking about how you are learning tons of stuff with internet marketing, and he asked why you wouldn't outsource that as well, like you do with your development and your design and your SEO and all that. So
yeah,
maybe you can say something about that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I kind of like to have an understanding of what I'm outsourcing before I outsource it. Internet marketing is a huge word, right? I mean, it includes things like SEO, and then it includes things like content marketing, like blogging, right? Making documents or articles or something. Then it includes copywriting, and then it includes emails and autoresponders and list building, and it just is so much there. I don't even know. I wouldn't even know where to start to outsource it. Like I thought about hiring McIntyre, the autoresponder guy, but I forget the name of his I think it's
John
the
McIntyre.
yeah, the McIntyre method, I think, is his website.
Yeah.
It costs like $1,000 to build a 30-day, a 10 email autoresponder, and there's lots of like science and best practices for the sequence of how it goes and everything. And it's, it'd be something that would make sense to outsource at some point, but it's almost like, do I need an autoresponder? Okay, if I do, what am I selling? How am I selling it? Oh, okay, now email collection. How do I build the email list? And then landing pages. How do I make a great landing page? There's just so much there that I wouldn't even know how to start with outsourcing. In fact, kind of an idea I have, David, is I'm keeping track of everything I'm doing as I go through this thing. And one thing I couldn't find in Amazon was it's almost like Internet Marketing 101 or whatever the word is that describes all these different things. And it'd be really awesome to use that, like a book, as a lead magnet or something to build a list for opt-in mobile, because it's exactly the same target audience. Like, here's how how you bring your business into, building a website's great, but then you want to build a list. Like, we didn't even know when we started the podcast how important building a list was. That's how illiterate for internet marketing we are, and I think, and we're like fairly, up-to-date guys. So I think a lot of people probably struggle with this, especially with like either offline products or online products that have been supported by affiliates and stuff. So, like, do you want to do social media marketing, or is it better just to do AdWords? And how do you decide? And what are you testing? Are you testing landing pages? What's a landing page? What's a squeeze page? Like all these concepts. I think a lot of people struggle with because there's just so much out there. So I think once we get a handle on it, we'll outsource pieces of it, especially like I'd love to use a professionally written autoresponder and see if that impacts, more clients. And then we've got guys lining up to be affiliates. So Gab wants to be affiliate, Steve P. Young wants to be affiliate, and Patrice. So we've got like 3 guys that, yeah. So. But I've never done an affiliate thing before. I've never been an affiliate. Never.
Yeah.
So it's just so much to do.
Kind of the summary is that the way we are comfortable to outsource is to first do it ourselves, at least to a certain degree. So we kind of know what we're talking about, so we don't run into marketing traps ourselves. Basically, it's like we don't want to be hiring someone who doesn't know what they are talking about, because that wouldn't help us anything. So we just are not comfortable with hiring for something we have no idea whether they are any good or not. And it's kind of like you can't do this for everything. Like, you're not going to study law before you hire a lawyer, but it is the way we feel most comfortable outsourcing something right now. And I think we just don't have a really solid framework in place on how to make a decision to outsource something that we don't know how to do at least a little bit ourselves.
Yeah, like a good example would be also following what you're good at. And I hate doing keyword research. Like, I just hate it. Like, I always get stuck. I'm like, okay, hold on, what am I doing? How do I evaluate? And I've read like 5 different articles on selecting keywords, and it's just their examples never match up to how. It's amazing, like when you type in mobile app development and how to build a mobile app and stuff, it's not like as many as how to build an email autoresponder series. Like, people aren't searching for this stuff as much, and so there's just not as many variety of words, and I just hate it and I suck at it. So that would be something where I would tell a SEO guy, okay, once a week send me 5 words that I could write articles for, and then maybe I even outsource the framework of the writing, and then I go in and fill in the main points. Or I don't really like that idea, but the guy at Kissmetrics is really big on that. But there's just like, it's overwhelming how much stuff there is. And as I figure out what I don't like to do, what's a time suck, all these things, we just pass. Yeah, similar to WordPress curve. I could go figure out how to remove the author from a post in Genesis, but why? Just pay the dude $70 a month and have them do it, So, yeah. I think Monday the new website will be up, and it'll be kind of new to you too, David. And it's brand new to me. Like, I got the URL yesterday, and I put a homepage up yesterday, but I haven't even published it yet, so it's still behind a landing page. but yeah, then we'll move WordPress Curve over to that. But yeah, it's been fun figuring all this stuff out. So.
And that's still going to be which domain?
Mobileappdojo.com. And what's cool about we had it in the Facebook group, like what's the site and what's a good like branding to bring all these different things we're doing together. And I liked Mobile App Army, analytics, retention, monetization is the ARM, but then I also didn't like kind of like the political part of it. And then guns aren't super popular in the U.S. right now, or they're very popular depending on what side of it you're on. But there's just so many different options just there, so I started throwing them in the Facebook group, and then Dojo was available, and I liked some other examples, Mobile App Experience, Mobile App Mastery, but those were taken. And so Dojo, I looked up what it meant, and it's Japanese essentially, or I don't know if it's Japanese, but the word essentially means the place of the way. I just think that's so badass. So
yeah, and it's kind of like this training hall to the martial arts people with I think it's even like
it's even like
specific
what?
martial art, but I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
But it's where they practice their yes.
Yeah, so wait till you're going in and out right now, David. Wait till you see what the homepage looks like. It's like a picture of a dojo. It should be pretty cool. Yeah, it should be pretty cool. But the framework we're using is this new Rainmaker theme. It's like a new platform from the guys over at Copyblogger, and it kind of forces you to not worry so much about all the different plugins you can use and all these different things, and just focuses on running your business. So it's, again, like we outsourced that too. We outsourced the thinking about WordPress and hosting and all these other things, and let the pros at Copyblogger kind of lead the way. But they have all sorts of like A/B testing, and it's real. I mean, they have pre-formatted landing pages where it's like, here's an authority building landing page. It's just, if you can't tell, I've been nerding out on this for like the last 3 days, and because we have a huge list and we haven't been really talking with them, and it's time to start talking with them, and I want to make sure they're coming to a well put together place, So
yeah, sounds really good. I mean, Rainmaker sounds really nice,
yeah.
And I can't wait to see it in action.
Yeah, we'll announce it on the podcast probably Monday or Wednesday, like what we're doing with it. We still have App Business Podcast, so I don't want to make it sound like we're totally taking that down or something. But most of the conversation's happening in the Facebook group, so we still have all the episodes on App Business Podcast. That's not going anywhere. But we needed something else to pull everything together, so we'll announce that next week, I'm sure.
Sounds good. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm on Mobile Dev Memo right now, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. Like, Millennial Media acquires NextStage. That happened a couple of days ago, but it's just this stuff is moving so fast, and the implications are really big. So I would just again recommend making that your morning coffee break is Mobile Dev Memo, and there's other sources too, but just another reminder about how much is happening in this space. And I think we talked about almost none of it today, but yeah, it's well worth the 30 minutes to an hour every morning. All right, so we'll catch you guys Monday. And David, hopefully I'll catch you bright and early Monday morning, like 2 o'clock your time. And that will be a kind of a special episode. We're going to record it 8 hours ahead of publishing it, talking about a book. Maybe he has a special offer. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, we'll catch you guys Monday. And David, I'll catch you Monday for our meeting.
Sounds good. Talk to you later then.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.